Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Pleasure to see you all here again to the last webinar we're organizing together with Ayala. Today, we will have the honor of having Sutir, who is Ayala's chairperson since June this year, presenting sustainable logistics. As you all know, we already last year published a detailed guide on sustainable logistics, focusing on four areas which are quite important. And this year, we are, of course, organizing these webinars in order to dive deeper into the topic. In case you are interested in understanding more about the three other topics we've already organized, you're very welcome to check out the Net Zero Carbon Events YouTube channel, which is all published there. And today we will be talking about sustainable logistics in general. This is, of course, a very important topic, and it's definitely a great pleasure to welcome the entire team of Aela and, of course, the chairperson Sutir. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar, and I am looking forward to your contributions today. Just as a housekeeping rule, keep your mics out, please. And if you have any questions, you are very welcome to use the chat function here. And after Sutir has finished his presentation, we can go through the questions you've already raised. And of course, if you have anything to add after the webinar, very welcome to have an exchange with all of us. That will be, of course, very much appreciated. So then, without any further ado, I would like to welcome one more time Sutir, Ayla's chairperson. And Sutir, the floor is all yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. I hope I am audible.
Perfect.
Yes. So first of all, good evening to everyone from India. Uh, we are on a show site on a working for the Brian show. So Brian Adams' fourth tour in India. So he's doing a seven cities tour, and I have an honor to travel with him on all the charters every day. So starting with that, on the sustainability logistics today, on the sustainable logistics, what I'm going to speak a little bit preliminary things which I wanted to discuss about sustainability, which is the most important subject in the world, where today the situation is quite alarming for all of us as the resources are declining and the consumptions of the resources are increasing, and the activities what we see today with the populations, with the economic expansions, the globalization, the digital connectivity, etc., with the pollution and gas, all waste urbanization is affecting our planet, which is resulting in the global warming. And hence, it's a need to look into the sustainable aspects in a deep and do the deep dive. So we have formed a rethinking logistics document. And under this document, the four scopes which we derive as sustainable logistics, the remote last mile logistics, traffic management, smart cities, and on site logistics, in which I'm going to do a deep dive today on the sustainable logistics. Can we have the next slide, please? On the sustainable logistics practices, where we do the best practices, we have certain paths to follow, under these paths we have to see how the optimization of the logistics under the transportations scope and the routes can be identified well, so that we can save the decarbonization. We can do the reduce the disposable packaging material, where the reusable packaging material can be introduced in a way that we reuse and we don't waste, so that the waste management can be done practically well. We can source more sustainable equipments, where in today's world, the gas equipments, the biofuel, the battery operated equipments can help to be more sustainable in terms of our logistics practices. But doing all these three things, we need to collaborate with all the stakeholders, which are organizers, venue owners, the logistics providers, and the stakeholders, to make the meaningful progress towards a most sustainable future for events. Next slide, please. While having the summary of the key points on decarbonizing logistics, The reputation and enhancement with the diversity of the events industry, where the collaboration is must and the contextual variability is to be identified with adaptable solutions and equity principles to be followed to overview of the high level journey towards the decarbonization of logistics. And can we move on to the next slide, please? Yes. How do we all do this in terms of changing to see the big change? So, first, we have to change our mind in terms of training the mindset with an essential education by upgrading ourselves, that how do we proceed towards the sustainable logistics. We need to unify it in terms of the stakeholders actions, so that we can collaborate for the more common goals instead of otherwise going on the confronted with the challenges. And how do we integrate together the business model on daily operations in order to create the holistic approach to promote our collective growth. Next slide, please. The education is must, and the diversity capabilities is to lead the clear vision with the actionable roadmap. In order to have this roadmap, the stakeholders has to come together. They have to make sure they educate everybody. They make everybody aware about the diverse capabilities and capacities of each stakeholder in order to derive a roadmap which will be an equal goal for everyone, so that the education plays a major big role over here. And that's the reason how it transform the industry wide, how we can transform the industry wide uh, uh, changes over here. Next slide, please. The measurement and tool drivers of the change. The measurement logistics, we spoke just last month in our OFI meeting, and it was very interesting thought process which we have run through, where everybody agreed upon going under one practice for the measurement and tool as driver, because universal accepted system will make reach our goals in such a way that we can scope on we can focus on the scope 3 emission across the event industry, where the traffic and the last mile logistics can be addressed properly. Again, the collaboration across the value chain is one of the most important thing to collect the data. But how do we collect the data? To have the accuracy, we need to have the measurement and tool as a driver for the change, and we will make sure that we need to make sure that we need to have this in place. Next slide, please. The transport modes and the carrier analysis are one of the lifelines for the sustainable logistics in the transport world, where the transport modes are being planned as per the delivery schedule. In order to reach to our sustainable goal, we can prioritize the readiness of the cargo, whether the cargo needs to be put in under consolidation, whether the cargo needs to be put in under railway transport, or whether the cargo can be put in into on such transport mode where the electric or the hybrid vehicles being used, in order to see to it that we have lesser carbon emission and more yield towards the sustainable logistics. Next slide, please. Sorry, I forgot to mention on the last slide about the biofuels, which is a good news for the air traffic industry. And I hope to see this change. We hope to see this change very soon. Next slide, please. On the shipment consolidations, I've just spoken briefly on the last slide, where to have the economical way of going ahead for consolidation of the shipments in order to keep while keeping the last leg delivery in mind on time. And also this will help even to promote the goals of the smart cities and to reduce the carbon emission in a more sustainable way. While we optimize the land and rail transport by consolidating the shipments to maximize the vehicle efficiency and minimize using of the unnecessary vehicles and the resources which are really not required under the shipment consolidation. So this might be one of the more most effective way of doing the transportation. If we have the cargo readiness, we know the information of the shipments, we know all the information in advance and prior in order to move with this particular option. Next slide, please. While having the deadlines and the preparation of the materials and the timing, the planning is must. While we do the effective planning, we do the early preparation of the materials, and we choose the most sustainable shipping methods. This is only possible if we do the better coordination through our timely communications of the cargo, then the advanced bookings of the exhibitors on-site services, the freight forwarders communications, which can plan very, very effectively, which can minimize the last minute hassles and the emergencies in order to promote environmentally sustainable solutions. And this also enhances the employees' well-being and the safety part, which is one of the most important factor in the event sustainability, where we have to promote even the human life and the health and safety on the sustainable aspects. Next slide, please. While we do these sustainable logistics solutions, the paperless processes are one of the most important factors which we see. However, we see them through the apps, we see them through the payment digital receipts, the cargo receipts, the written disposable instructions. We do the merge between the digital communication and the project management tool in terms of deck, and we have the paperless digital amendments or changes which are much easier, which are much manageable than the paper communications and paper amendments. However, the recommendations are to choose the mindful source for the digital solutions in order to see that we use the energy efficient devices. We use the renewable energy means of transport, and we ensure the clear and verified sustainability claims to avoid the greenwashing. And we can establish such SOPs in order to minimize the environmental impact of the digital solutions during this particular use. Next slide, please. We talked about briefly about the packing, how it is reusable, recycled, and recyclable. In order to reach out even our sustainable goal in a more deeper manner, and in order to reach out to our customers, exhibitors, to give them these solutions on the packaging, if we can prioritize in logistics our waste management by giving them the solutions of the steel, aluminum, skid packings, or the reusable wood packings material, which can be also the we can manage it properly recycled way in order to avoid any pollutions or any further carbon emissions out of this. And the organization should implement the guidelines in order to have the sustainable packaging materials, in order to see that we establish the full reusable packaging systems, which will help to achieve our goals in a more better and a bigger manner. Next slide, please. Choosing the right freight forwarder. Here is the catch 22 situations where everybody needs to see who's the official freight forwarders, who's having the clear network, who's having the knowledge, and where the comparison between the general shippers and the general logistics service providers and the specialized logistics service providers, how do they do the job, how do they help you to make sure that their expertise help in leading the ways where you have no delays, you have no increased emissions, and you have no additional delivery attempts in order to reach your cargo on time, in terms of having a right service providers with you. Next slide, please, Alex. So we spoke just now on the official on-site contractors as well. The official forwarder with the sustainable fleets, with the sustainable guidelines in having to ensure the greener delivery and the handling processes of exhibits in order to make sure that we reach out to this particular organization, we need to follow the ecosystem's call, which is nominations of the single freight forwarding with a strong stakeholder network, facilities, shipment consolidations, the proper warehouses, on-site warehouses, and where we can have the less emissions of the carbon footprints with such service providers in order to make sure our goals reached more clearly. Next slide, please. So our supply chain management and the responsible purchasing in order to decarbonize the supply chain in the event industry, it's very essential to develop a questionnaire or it is very essential to develop a document in order to make sure our sustainability practices uh, in the maintenance of the ongoing communications and identifying the opportunities for improvement can be a goal which needs to be improvised again and again in order to make sure we have a proper supply chain management system in place. Next slide, please, Alex. So this is my brief presentation and was a deep dive where we deliver sustainable logistics scope to you. And if you have any questions with regards to the slides which I have presented, we can talk about it. Thank you very much.
Sudhir, thanks a lot for this overview and providing us with the 13 points, including education, collaboration among the value chain, transport mode, of course, measurement, which is quite important, but also shipment consolidation, the importance of the planning, digitalization, and all the other points. It's a very holistic overview of the things which we all need to take into account when planning a sustainable logistics. I would like to open the floor to questions if there are any. It will be great to have an exchange while we have Sudhir here and have some questions if you have regarding the presentation or also in terms of the webinars we've organized already. Anything from the participants? Looks clear so far. Maybe Sudhir, from my side, obviously you are based in India, and it's always interesting for me because net zero carbon events is a global initiative, and of course, being based in Europe, we've often consider ourselves as the forerunner in terms of sustainable practices. Whether it's really the truth or not, it's a different question. But I am quite interested to know your opinion, whether the world can learn also from developing countries and solutions which are being implemented there. It's always interesting to see. So if you have any suggestions or best practices there, I'd be more than interested to hear those.
Yeah, so it's a nice question, first of all, Alex. And I would like to just give certain comments on this because the best practices which the new venues are coming up with. So we have a venue which is in Mumbai, which is called as Geo World Center. And Geo World Convention Center is one of the venue where my company operates exclusively for traffic management. And we do this traffic management and the logistics services. So we do this completely on a software. Yeah. So we manage the traffic on a software, and then we handle the logistics with the requests which are coming to us online. And this is a 24/7 operation which is happening in the complex every day without any holidays or any non-working hours. It is continuously ongoing thing. So we work in 3 shifts. I mean, our team works in 3 shifts, and we service this particular complex on a greener way, in a much better way, where our equipments also are battery operated, and we are now in the process of measuring the carbon footprints for the vehicles which are coming from outside to inside and going from inside to outside, because our vehicles do not produce any CO2 because they are all battery operated. However, we have to see the manpower which we are pulling out as far as the workers are concerned, as far as our employees are concerned, and as far as the other third party workers are coming inside. So we need to do the measurement which we are discussing with the venue, and I think very soon we will have the CO2 emission in place in order to measure and improvise on the whole system. On the other hand, the bigger complexes of the exhibitions venues in India are also more greener. So when you fill up the tender as a logistics service providers, you have been asked that how many equipments you have, which are non carbon producing equipments, so battery operated, CNG operated, or any other biofuel operated equipments. And these categories are quite important in order to be in the tender. So the awareness is there. Uh, People are moving towards that particular aspect. The sustainability accreditation, which is ISO 212, 2012 2.
2021.
Yeah, yeah. So that's also one of the key thing for the logistics service provider or the other event service providers to have the standard, so that the awareness becomes more easy and ongoing.
And Sutir, just a follow-up question in terms of, bringing sustainability. I of course understand that awareness is there, but the practical implementation is always the most difficult part, of course. So, what is in your opinion the biggest hurdle for the practical implementation, and how could we overcome this hurdle?
Very good question again. The practical implementation stucks where the education is not been given, training is not been given, and the seriousness is not being reached from top to bottom. So it is to be. I mean, when you blame somebody, it is to be the top ones to be blamed before we blame the down ones, right? So the top one needs to educate this, make it more aware that what are the systems in place, what we have as a paperless logistics, or as a equipments wise, or as a measuring devices, or how do we do the overall operations, and for me, I start from the manpower, which is human, and we have to make it more sustainable also, because in UFI we have raised a question on the deadlines being given by the venues and then the organizers to the service providers for making the build up and the wind up in a shorter time.
Mm-hmm.
So this also makes the whole chain unsustainable rather than sustainable. Even if you are using the sustainable measures in place, the thing which is hampering us is this, which is in a big way. So as a ILA, we have put in this question in UFI, and we have asked UFI how to help us out on this particular aspect, because all the freight forwarders in the worldwide, like maybe it's Far East, Europe, or Americas, Middle East, we have this particular challenge where we need to address this particular thing, so that the supply chain, all the stakeholders working in the whole supply chain should not get disturbed.
Well, I mean, this goes really very much into the heart of your mentioning that the collaboration within the value chain is, of course, of extreme importance, especially when it comes to, communication between service providers. On the one hand side, venues, on the other side, of course, the organizers. And yeah, I also agree with your topic that education is, of course, key, because we all need to understand the importance of sustainability in large, and then, of course, how we as individual employees can make our part, and of course why the directive from above is so important. I think it's the understanding is key. Okay.
Absolutely.
Any further questions from the audience? Sutir, I think you blew the mind of everyone.
I hope so.
We have no questions. Well, in that case, we would like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. And in case there will be any questions which you might have forgotten to ask, always drop us a line and then we will follow up on that for sure. So, Sutir and of course the entire team of Aela, thank you very much for having this conversation today. And we will certainly be very much looking forward to the further collaboration with Aela under the Net Zero Carbon Events umbrella. We have quite a few things planned for next year, especially when it comes to the collaboration with other work streams and so on. So looking forward to the implementation of that and wishing everyone a very nice year end and see you all with fresh powers and inspirations next year.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for
Thank you
this.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Have
Thank
a
you.
good festive season then. Bye bye.
You too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alex. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye bye.